You don't have time to sit around theorizing. You don't have the luxury to do that. You don't have the latitude to do that, okay? The modern world will not allow that because things are moving far too quickly, all right? And the day is going to be won by those guys who take action and who move forward in a positive direction rather than sit around and wait for somebody to save them, because it's not going to happen, all right? Now, one of the problems that we notice with making this kind of content and putting this stuff out there, the message is fundamentally positive. Yes, we have to be aware of and report back on what's actually happening on the ground, okay? And look, you don't need my channel to tell you that dating is in a dire state, okay? You don't need to watch a content like this to know that the state of marriage is pretty dire in the UK and the USA and the West now in 2026. The studies are all over the place. The studies are legion, okay? The reports are legion. The articles are everywhere, okay? This is not underground knowledge, it's very well known, okay? So it's all out there, but one of the problems that we find is that guys will dive into our content. I say our, I'm talking about myself and obviously my colleague James and Les, his business partner, fellow coach. People will dive into our content and they will use that as a way to, effectively as a way to pacify themselves. The content becomes a kind of a tranquilizer, okay? And I'm sure we're all like this, all right? I'm sure we all have our favorite YouTube creators, our favorite podcasts, our favorite accounts on this or that app, okay? We all have it, and we all go down rabbit holes from time to time. I mean, over Christmas I went down a real politics rabbit hole, and I was watching all these people, and I was spending, during the holiday I was spending like sometimes hours a day watching that content and just going down that rabbit hole, which is obviously largely a waste of time, although it was quite entertaining. And you do learn a few things. You probably learn, actually as a content creator, you learn stuff because you look at how other people are doing it and you think, well, I could maybe take a little bit of that, or I could add this element in here, or I could maybe use that camera or use that angle or whatever it is. And I don't make any excuse for that, because I still think for me it's a waste of time, really. But there is some small but peripheral benefit to it. But if you're not taking any action based on the content you're consuming, then you are just a passive consumer, okay? And that's not really a good position to be in, or at least it's not a very powerful position to be in. Really, you want to be a producer and minimally a consumer, okay? And for the most part, that's what I do. So I will do my work during the day, I'll go to the gym, I'll see friends, I'll meet with people, whatever. And then in the evening, if there's a bit of time left, before I go to sleep, I'll watch some nonsense on the internet, okay? But I'm not spending all day on the internet watching other people's channels, other dating coaches' channels. I mean, God forbid. I mean, we've only got so many hours in our lives, right? We can't watch all of this nonsense. So if you're watching this, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. And the channel is, views are, going really, really well at the moment. So we are doing something right. We're circling the truth, ladies and gentlemen. We're saying things that obviously resonate with people, which is great, and I do appreciate that. However, I would also beseech you to use what you pick up here, use what you learn from this, and utilize the mindset shifts that I'm trying to effect in you in order to go out and actually improve things in your own existence, okay? Because that ultimately is the only point. And when you are consuming content to the detriment of actually doing anything, it's not just pointless, it's actually harmful, okay? It's actually harming you. It's actually reducing your chance to get the positive outcomes that you're looking for, right? Because if you want to get good in dating, yes, you need to learn social skills, and when you watch content, people will talk about social skills a lot, and there are channels that I imagine there are still channels that talk about it in quite a granular way, right? You go and you say this or you say that, don't say that, right? Wait for 2.5 hours before you send the text, or whatever it is, right? They'll talk to you on a very granular level about that stuff. We do a little bit of that here, but it tends to be a little bit more high level. Nevertheless, you can learn some of that stuff, but you don't need to learn reams and reams of it, okay? You can take on a few ideas on board and then go out into the real world and practice it, okay? And what you're going to find is that some of it is going to work well for you, and the rest of it maybe isn't going to work very well for you. So then you discard the stuff that didn't work very well, and you take on board and keep the stuff that did, all right? But you don't need to keep going back to the source. And the problem with content in the men's broadly self-development sphere is it's quite circular, and it kind of tells you the same thing time and time and time again, all right? Now, I don't make any criticism of that, really. I mean, that's fine, because everyone's got their lane. We have our lane here, okay, you know, and that's okay, right? You've got to fit into a genre. But for the viewer, it's like, okay, the reason I came into this in the first place, the reason I started working this in the first place was to find out information because there is something that doesn't feel right in my life. Okay, there is an issue in my life, there's a problem in my life that needs to be solved. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come upon this particular content. I wouldn't have come across this particular channel or this particular creator, okay? But then you forget that because the act of just watching the stuff becomes in itself a dopamine hit, okay? The act of just watching the channel, listening to the person's voice, hours and hours and hours on repeat, whatever, you know, it becomes like a lullaby. It becomes something that holds you as you fall asleep at night, and you forget about the fact that, you know, actually you'd kind of like to have a girlfriend, actually maybe you'd like to change your job, actually maybe you'd like to go and travel and do something more exciting. You forget all of that stuff because you've been pacified. The channels are acting almost like a benzo. They're almost acting like a tranquilizer, okay? It's not as bad as picking up a drink or picking up a drug, but it's acting in the same way, okay? And that's not healthy. It's going to hold you back. And the reason it's going to hold you back is because every hour that you spend consuming content, you're not spending going out and actually engaging with people in the real world. And as far as the social piece is concerned, as far as the social skills piece is concerned, that's the only thing that's actually going to turn the dial. Because you could watch videos literally all weekend. You could spend all weekend sitting at home in your apartment watching videos. Would that make you any better when you went out on a date? No, it wouldn't. Would it make you any better if you go to a bar and you want to have a conversation with people? No. The only thing that's going to make you better in those endeavors is actually doing it and experimenting with it and failing and getting up, dusting yourself off and trying again, etc., etc. And that is the only route to salvation that we have, okay? We've talked a lot recently about the travails of modern dating, the problems that exist out there, and they are legion, okay? They are legion. We are beset with problems in the digital sphere, the way that we interface together, the way that we communicate, the way that men and women interrelate, particularly in the West, is there's a deep schism there, right? And it's getting worse, and it's only going to continue to get worse as technology exponentially explodes, okay? The genie is not going back in the bottle. The genie is out the bottle, and it has been for nearly 2 decades now, okay? It's not going back. So this is the new reality, and it's speeding up, all right? So the rate of change in society, the rate of change in technology is now faster than it ever has been before, and it will only continue to get faster. And those innovations, they're not going to make things better for you. Okay, let's just be honest about that. We don't know exactly what the future holds. We don't know exactly how it will go down. But if I was putting money on it, I would put a significant sum of money on the fact that it's not going to make things any better. Okay, just the way it is, right? And even if by some miracle it does, there's still huge value in the social piece. Because the social piece, as people become more and more captive to smartphones, as they become more and more captive to devices, more and more captive to the internet, the ability to conduct oneself in an efficient and engaging manner in real life is becoming less and less and less, okay? And so if you want to stand out in that market, what do you do? All right, what do you do? Do you get more immersed in your computer than everybody else? No, of course not. You have to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. So if everybody else is sitting, looking at their phone and scrolling and hitting like on pictures on Instagram or whatever it is, looking at reels, you want to be doing the opposite to that. You want to put your phone down, okay? You want to start reading books again. You want to start going to the gym. You want to eat right. You want to sort your hormones out, okay? You want to go running. You want to go swimming. You want to play a sport. You want to get into a martial art, right? You want to do all of these things. You want to start writing, start journaling at least, okay? Maybe start creating your own content. Or, you know, whatever it is you want to do. Thinking about business ideas. Thinking, okay, well maybe my financial situation is not optimal, so what can I do in order to bring it up to the right level? Right? What can I do to level up? You want to be planning this stuff and strategizing, okay? You don't want to be just sitting there watching some other guy wanging on about a load of stuff that you've probably heard already, because we like to hear stuff restated. And again, I can't criticize this because we do this on the channel all the time. You know, and it is a necessary part of education. Alex Hormozy talks about how actually it's not being told new things that you often need in education, it's being reminded of the things that you already know. So there is a place for it, but you're the boss, you're the consumer. I would advise you to say, okay, I've taken this on board, I understand what this person is saying, now I'm going to go out and put it into action. And maybe tonight, after I've done all of my work and I've done my exercise and I've done this and I've done that, I'll put on the internet for half an hour before I go to sleep, or something like that, you know? But you don't want it to take over your life, okay? And there are people who have been junkies of online self-development content for years, okay? For a decade. There's people who've been junkies of this stuff for like a decade, and they still don't really have a clue. And we know this because we meet them, okay? We meet people who have been following content for nearly a decade, and they're still clueless. All right, I mean, how can that possibly be? How could that possibly be? They're like, oh yeah, I've read all of this, you know, I used to be a member of this forum, you know, I remember so-and-so's videos back in the day, I've read all of so-and-so's books and all this kind of thing. And you think, yeah, but you're still clueless. I mean, how does that work? Right, how does that even work? And the reason is because they haven't actually gone out and put it into practice, all right? The whole point of anything really, the whole point of it is so that you can enact it in your own life, all right? So you can improve your own existence on this planet, which is very brief and ending 1 minute at a time. Otherwise, why bother? You know, you might as well watch a wildlife program, or, I mean, God forbid, you might as well watch sports. I mean, there's literally no point to the endeavor if you're not going to use it in a useful way. And it's not like any of us have a lot of time here, okay? All of us are getting older. The rate of change, as I've said, in society is exponential. Things aren't getting any easier, they're getting harder. And you don't want to look back on this period in your life and think, well, I didn't do anything. I kind of sat around, I watched a lot of videos, I can't really remember them now, but I guess it was fun at the time. And probably had a few drinks or got stoned at the same time. And wasted my life. I wasted my 30s, I wasted my 40s. I mean, what a tragedy, can you imagine that? Somebody wasting their 40s, not actually doing anything. There needs to be a sense of urgency about this, and not for me, not because, I mean, it's not, you know, whatever. I mean, forget about me, forget about content creators. For you, there needs to be a sense of urgency about this because it's fucking important. And you don't have long to figure it out, okay? Because every day that you sit there and don't figure it out, there are other guys who either have already figured it out and they don't need to do any work on it, or at least they're in a state that's good enough that they don't need to do any work on it, or there are guys who are figuring it out and who are leveling up and who are improving. And in the midst of all of that, you've got the algorithms changing, you've got crazy new apps coming on board, you've got AI coming in and fake profiles and all of this crazy stuff that we've never seen before in the history of humanity. And you think, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to watch a bit of content and my dating life is going to be amazing, you know? I'll sort that out in a year. right? That's the classic thing, isn't it? Yeah, I want to do this stuff, man. I want to sort out my dating life. But you know what? I'm going to leave it for a year. We had a guy on our stream earlier, and he said to us, me and James, he said, are you guys still going to be doing this in 15 years? Because I'd love to work with you, but I want to get the money together first. And I'm like, well, for a start, how do you know it's going to take 15 years? Like, it seems oddly accurate, you know, it seems oddly specific. And secondly, why is it going to take 15 years? I mean, yeah, we are professionals, right? We charge a fee for our services, but I mean, it shouldn't really be 15 years worth of graft. And also, it seems like the priorities are just totally wrong. Because this guy was in his early 20s, he's going to be like late 30s in 15 years' time. And by the way, I won't be doing it in 15 years, or at least I won't be doing it in the way that he would like me to be doing it. Okay, I won't be coaching guys in that way in 15 years' time. It's almost certain, I think. It's almost 0% chance that I personally would still be doing the same thing. There'll probably be other people who will, but I won't. And you put it on hold for 15 years, that's 15 years of your life that's gone. Now look, I mean, actually, most of the guys that we work with are in their later 30s or 40s or even into their 50s and 60s, okay? So that's fine. It's not that age is a barrier as such, but given the choice, you know, if there's a dude in his early 20s, I would say get it sorted out now. Don't wait till you're nearly 40. You know, you can't say, okay, you know, yeah, I want to have a great dating life. I want to, you know, meet a great girlfriend and whatever. But you know what? I'm going to wait until I'm middle-aged to do that. It's mind-blowing, okay? But this is the mental attitude of a lot of people. And look, whatever. You live your own life. You can do what you want to do. But I would advise that you get this handled as quickly as you can, okay? In this society, in this world, with the way things are at the moment, it needs to be handled. And look, it's not just about the dating stuff, as important as that is. It's also about your ability to persuade, right? It's about your ability to bring people into your world. It's about your ability to, I guess, sell people on your point of view. Those skills are transferable into almost any other endeavor, but particularly into a work endeavor, particularly into a business or sales endeavor, particularly into a leadership role, okay? These things are essential, and they're dying out because Gen Z are sitting around on their phones and they're not doing any of this stuff. And if you're Gen Z, by the way, welcome, and you know, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. But look, whatever, regardless of your age, you've got to work with what you've got, where you are in your life, and wherever you are, that's fine. The best time to do something was yesterday. The second best time is right now, okay? So you get to make the decision at any time to change. You get to make the decision to level up, okay? But make that damn decision. Make the damn decision. Because there's no point in watching a load of doomer content about how terrible everything is and then going, okay, right, I'll just take the dog for a walk and then I guess I'll hit the sack. You know, that's not what it's about. I mean, you can do that. You can do that, but then you waste your life. I mean, you waste your one shot at having a decent life on this planet before it all goes dark and the lights go out forever, right? So think about it seriously. There is urgency here. You might not feel the urgency. It's not like having the bailiffs coming around and you're like, oh God, I've got to find the money to pay this for this thing. It's not like that, but the urgency is there. It's just that we're able to shield ourselves from it. And we do. And part of the way we shield ourselves from it is by using content as a pacifier, all right? Anyway, with all of that being said, thank you for watching. Genuinely, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. And look, I mean, hopefully you got something from this. Hopefully you get something from the other videos as well. But genuinely, I would say the purpose of this really is to, in the end, to get you to take some action, okay? And I can help with that. We've got various, we've got our online course, which is open now. We've also got various live in-person coaching events as well coming up this year. So if you're interested in that, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Otherwise, subscribe to the channels, give me a like, comment below, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.